Hi, my name's Ella McChrystal, and this is The New Mind. Today's guest is Georgia Baker. Now, Georgia Baker is of GS Coaching, and she's a body transformation specialist. It's really interesting, actually, this whole area for me, because the mind and body, as you know, are intrinsically linked, and health and fitness are so important in terms of looking after yourself, not just your mind, but your body as well. And because for so many people, how they feel about how they look really is a big problem in terms of their mental health. I've made it a bit of a mission, really, to have people like Georgia on so can really delve into the area of the mind-body connection. Welcome, Georgia.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Now, one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on was because there is this kind of real new wave, I think, since social media, of body transformation work, but not everybody's like you. And after speaking to you on the phone, we had a lovely chat, and it kind of it was interesting because we were looking for the hook for the story.
Mm-hmm.
And what came out of that was that there wasn't really much of a negative experience for you in childhood or anything like that. On the phone call anyway. And I was kind of like, this is interesting. I want to talk to somebody that's in this industry, because often bodybuilders, competitors have been driven by some sort of pain.
Yeah.
That whole pain for power kind of angle. And we didn't find that in the call. And I found that quite interesting, because to be really determined and purposeful, and what you do with your body is phenomenal. And I've been trying to crack the code for years and never been able to get to where you have. And obviously it's because you're a specialist in what you do, but it intrigues me that someone can get to that point with their body and really not have that kind of early childhood trauma, that need to prove something to themselves. However, after talking to you today, actually, there were a few things that maybe we could delve into today. So it's interesting. So the first thing I wanted to talk to you about really was about childhood.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about your experience in your first few years. What was actually, you mentioned something, sorry to butt in there, about having a hole in your heart, which we didn't find out on the phone. But talk to me about the early bits that you can.
So that was very early. So I was born with a hole in my heart, which I have not very much memory of at all, because I was very small. I was born with a hole in my heart, and I had open heart surgery when I was 9 months old.
Wow.
At the time, so I'm 33 now. So at the time, the open heart surgery was not as advanced as what it is now, and it was a lot more risky than what it is. So it was a massive operation, and it pretty much, the actual operation in itself went really, really well. But then after that, everything kind of went wrong that could have gone wrong, in terms of the hospital had a power cut. It all had to go we had to be changed to a different hospital. It was really thick snow. The ambulance broke down in the snow, and everything just kind of went as wrong as it could. But I have no remembrance of any of this, of course. But yeah, I don't know. I see pictures of myself when I was a baby, having had the heart surgery, and it all looks very, very scary. But yeah, the only way that that's kind of affected me, I guess, growing up, was that I had a whacking great big scar down my chest that was very noticeable for other children.
Yes.
So I was never bullied for it, but it was very kind of much like, oh, what's this? And I was conscious of it when I was growing up. I mean, now I've not really got the best top on in the world. So it's very, very faint. You wouldn't know it unless I was to point it out. But when I was a kid at school, it was noticeable that I had something a little bit different. But I wouldn't say it really ever bothered me. It was just one of those things. But yeah, I had open heart surgery, so I guess that's it's
quite a trauma.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, what we've found out today, actually pre-recording, is that there has been quite a few things that some people might label as traumatic throughout your life. But when we spoke on the phone, you're like, no, it's been great. So there was almost like a sense of, I know stuff's happened, but your personality is just to go, right, yeah, but what am I going to do about it? Like, quite a no-nonsense approach, actually. I think you said earlier, it's like quite a black and white thinking. This is what I want to do, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And it's almost, maybe there is a slight disassociation from some stuff, because on the whole, life was happy.
Yeah.
You were an only child, weren't you?
Absolutely. Loved it.
And
Spoiled.
you had, but actually it wasn't a bad thing for you, because we
No.
I've got a daughter, and I said to you earlier, a lot of people think, oh, well, that's a shame. She's not got any siblings. And I referenced the story where I offered her an adopted brother or sister, and she refused point blank. So she definitely was, sure that she was fine on her own.
Yeah.
And you're living proof that it doesn't really matter. You didn't feel like you missed out at all.
No, I've never ever felt that. And say, I similar with my mom saying to me, "Oh, would you like to have a little brother or sister?" And I was like, "No,
No way.
no, I like all the attention." So no, for me, it's never been an issue. I really love, and I think, obviously, I can't ever say because I've never been in a scenario of having brothers and sisters, but it's made me incredibly close to my mum and my dad.
Yeah, so you've got a real
Yeah.
different. So some people aren't,
Mm.
that even if they've had a reasonably happy life, they all go off and do their own thing, and they don't really touch base much. But you
Mm.
are very
Oh
close.
yeah, absolutely. They are my everything.
And that's so important.
Yeah.
More than anything, it's having those people that you can trust, rely on, and have your back.
Mm.
And you said earlier that they really supported your horse riding when you were younger, and that was your love.
Yeah.
And maybe your first foray into sport, I suppose.
Yeah, always. I was very lucky. I had my own pony when I was 3. And I had horses all the way up until quite recently when I've gone down the more into the fitness route, and just I haven't got the time for it at the moment. But yeah, had a very, very lucky childhood. Like I look back, and which is why I think, like when I initially say to you, there's not any trauma, because I don't see that, because it's coated by how
Yeah.
amazing. I'm so, so lucky. I've had the best childhood, and I've got the best relationship with my parents anyone could ever wish for.
Yeah.
And they're still happily married. And yeah, so I think it's almost kind of the bits that I have gone through, I've almost repressed and forgotten about, because it's been other than that so good.
Yeah, which is a really important point.
Mm.
And it's why I started off the conversation today with, we had this conversation and there was no trauma, because actually what has happened is, on reflection, I think just listening to you today, I'm like, maybe that could be seen as a trauma by some people.
Yeah.
That's not to say it's a trauma to you, because trauma is actually how it manifests.
Yeah.
It's not the event itself, it's how it manifests in the person. And in you've been able to be logical and say, yeah, there was this and that, but actually this was so phenomenal that it didn't matter, because I got my needs met.
Yeah.
And I think that is essentially why you are so cool about the bits that weren't so good, because you did get your needs met and you did feel good in that way. Going back to the hole in the heart, though, the belief is that we hold on to everything implicitly. So that the hard drive in the brain holds on to all memories, even those that aren't consciously retrieved.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to know if that was a bit of a driver for your determination. Here you are, a tiny little baby, hole in the heart, open heart surgery, which any parent would hear and go, oh my God, that's the worst thing to go through as a parent. And I wonder actually if that hole in the heart made you really determined to just.
It's funny you say that as well, because now you say things like that. I've always been, my dad especially, and still to this day, he refers to me as my little fighter.
Yeah.
And it's always been that case of, and I guess because I have no memory of any of that, to me it almost doesn't, when I look at the pictures, it doesn't seem like it's me. I don't have any remembrance of that at all. But yeah, I guess it kind of is that, well, I went through that, so
yeah. I think it's got a lot to do with that, because your body is in phenomenal shape. And I was talking to you and your partner Simon, who's also going to have a podcast episode as well, earlier, about cracking the code.
Yeah.
And I wonder if part of it for you is that you did have to fight. You didn't get the easiest of stuff. Open heart surgery, especially then, because you're 33, so we're not talking about 10 years ago, where technology and the science behind it all has improved greatly. We're going back, and like you say, there was a power cut, there was snow, there was all sorts going on, and you did fight through that. So that's interesting, and we're going to keep referring back to these points throughout the podcast. But the other thing you mentioned was a couple of things, really, and I did ask if you minded me saying this, so you've said it's okay. Your mum was overweight when you were growing up, and your dad was an alcoholic. So actually, again, your needs were clearly met, despite the fact that your dad was an alcoholic. You'd had open heart surgery, and your mum obviously fluctuated in weight. So you were watching a woman. I think the reason that's relevant is you grew up watching a woman probably not being so happy with her body, struggling with her weight. And that led you to go into the gym with your mum, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was actually my mom that initiated me wanting to go into the fitness industry, because she'd always fluctuated in weight.
Yeah.
So she'd always had like a big fat loss and then put it back on, big fat loss, put it back on. And that had just been the story of her life up until actually quite recently. And I remember her eating separate meals to me and my dad. My dad's always been really lean. He looks like he's always been athletic. He's a runner still. He's 70 now and he still goes to the gym and all that stuff.
Wow.
So he's always super, super fit. My mum's fit as well, but she's always struggled with her weight. And when she got to her biggest, it then ended with her having to have surgery on both feet. She had like plantar fasciitis, but arthritis also, to the point of where she was given a disability card. She couldn't hardly walk, and she had surgery on both of her feet. And then obviously she's now lost the weight and everything's okay. But when she was at her biggest, my mom, bless her, is the most fashionable lady anyone could ever. She's just amazing. She dresses very, very individually and she's very out there. She always looks amazing. And when she was very big, she couldn't wear what she wanted to wear.
Yeah.
She's never been depressed. She would never have ever said, that she was depressed, but she wasn't my mom and she couldn't wear the clothes she wanted to wear. And it did make her quite sad.
Yeah.
And I noticed that. And then when she lost the weight, again, on another one of her roller coaster weight loss journeys. And then obviously she could buy the clothes and stuff again. And I felt like I got my mum back. And this was just at the time I was getting into the fitness industry. And it was kind of like, wow, okay, that change in someone's body can have such a change in how they feel.
Yeah.
And I loved that. And I was like, right, I want to help people feel like that. Like, this is amazing. And yeah, it was that. I'd always been sporty, but it was that actually initiated me wanting to go into the body transformation kind of route of things, seeing the difference of how it can affect someone mentally on such a big level just by losing a little bit of weight and feeling good and being able to wear the clothes. For her, it wasn't the weight, it was being able to wear the clothes.
Her pain point was that she couldn't be the glamorous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Yeah. That's interesting because everyone's got a pain point, haven't they?
She wanted to go to, she's never been one to spend loads of money on clothes because she's creative. So she'll buy stuff and she'll make it different. But she loves buying things from River Island and stuff like that. Absolutely loves it. And the fact that she had to go to like Evans and buy stuff in the plus size clothes, for her, that was like, oh my God. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but for her, that was her pain point because she couldn't buy the clothes she wanted to wear. And that made her upset. And even now she'll say she's coached by us now. My partner actually coaches her. And in her recent testimonial, she's obsessed with matching underwear. Obsessed with matching underwear. That woman has got so much underwear. And her biggest, when she's put like her win, she's now lost nearly 6 stone. But the reason that she's so excited is because she can wear her underwear again.
Yeah.
And it's things like that. It isn't the fact that she's lost the weight, it's the clothes that she can wear that makes her
so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I said to you earlier, I had a massive weight loss journey. I lost 8 stone. I don't know what that is in kilogram, but I lost 8 stone in my 20s. And the issue, I never actually put it back on, although I have now, obviously, but not to the point of like being incredibly overweight like I was before. But then I went to the point where I was wearing clothes for 11-year-olds. You know, there was it was such a difficult journey to navigate on my own. And I said to both you and Simon earlier, didn't I, about how things have changed now. You don't just go to Weight Watchers and continuously lose weight and get stuck. There's so many ways now that you can reach out and get, well, I mean, after speaking to you both today, like really structured, supportive, in-depth help that it's a different world to when I was losing weight. And also for your mum as well, like she's obviously had the right support now. Yeah. But it's interesting that people go on that roller coaster of putting it on and getting off, and it's because the diet industry is inherently flawed. Yeah, absolutely. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry for a reason. It's so confusing. Like it's the most common thing we'll hear when people come to us is, I've tried everything. Yeah. I've tried everything. I've tried Weight Watchers. I've tried the 5-2 diet, Cambridge diet, whatever it is. They've literally tried everything and they think they're broken and they just can't do it. Yeah. And it's actually just a case of, well, no, the reason that you've not been able to do it is because it doesn't fit around your lifestyle. Yes. You don't enjoy it, and that's really it. And people take such a harsh approach to it because they come from a place of they're desperate, they're so unhappy that they'll do anything to change, that then they just go like absolutely all guns blazing, and then it's that pendulum. Well, the scary one now, and I'm sure you know what I'm going to say, is this Ozempic. Yeah. I mean, I was looking into this just out of interest, and there's a risk of thyroid cancer, but people are injecting this into their bodies, aren't they? Yeah. Now, I don't know a lot about it. If you're medically trained or if you really know what you're doing, and you can do it for a short period of time and you get the fine. Like, I'm not here to judge, but what I do think is that you can buy it if you're me. And you could go onto the internet, you could buy this stuff, you could start injecting yourself and not really have an understanding of what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so again, those kind of crazes come and go, don't they? And I guess if you're not being supported correctly, this is again one of the reasons I wanted to have these conversations, is that it ends up for some people, especially if there's disordered eating or eating disorders, that you could end up in quite a scary place with the availability of these, and even the Cambridge diet. I've got to tell you, I'm not a fan.
No.
In fact, I'm not a fan of diets full stop.
No.
Because in my experience, it led me down the path of eating disorders.
Yeah.
And I was saying to you earlier, wasn't I, when I was very, very big, I was actually really cool with it. I didn't like the way my body looked, so obviously I wanted to change it, but I felt good in myself as a person. By the time I was in that anorexic zone, I genuinely lost all sight of everything and became anxious. I didn't want anyone to look at me. I was obsessed with food.
Yeah.
Obsessed with starving myself, feeling good from starving myself. And that is one heck of a bad situation to get yourself into. So when I look at, the likes of you and Simon, and I see your bodies, and I see, especially after talking to you today, like how integrated you are as a couple with your business, but also different as individuals and how you blend so beautifully together. It's phenomenal now. And if you find the right person, like you say, your mum is in a totally different space now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm really interested in your part of this journey as well, because you start going to the gym with your mum, and actually you said at the time it was of a time where the thigh gap was a thing. It was all about being super skinny. And actually, even for you, this journey was not straightforward.
No, not
so
at all.
Tell me about your journey into the world that you're now in.
So when I've always been sporty, always done like on all the sports teams and stuff at school. I've always loved that, and always been able to eat whatever the hell I wanted. Didn't even know what I weighed until I was like probably 13, 14, maybe even older than that. I don't even know. Can't remember the first time I stood on some scales. Was not bothered by it at all. I'd always been slim, never had a problem with my weight. And started going to the gym with my mom, really through no other reason, nothing to do with aesthetics. It was just because my mum was going to the gym and I liked doing physical activity. And I then, the funny story is, I did a couple of like half marathons, which was cool. Just don't really know why, just something to work towards. Because my mum had done them as well. And then my mom bought a road bike and I thought, that's cool. I want a road bike. Don't know why, but I got a tax rebate, not very much money. I bought myself a road bike. And at the time I was being coached by a guy who I still see now. And he said to me, why don't you do a triathlon? Like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll do a triathlon. I've got a bike. I might as well do a triathlon. So I got into doing triathlons, and I did do triathlons from probably the age of 18 up to about, I did my last one when I was 27, but I was actually like really competitive up until the age of like 21, 22. And I don't know, I kept like doing these triathlons. I did enjoy doing them. But then I think as I got a little bit older, it was then you do start to go out a little bit more, you're eating a little bit more. And then this like thing started as, well, I'll just keep doing loads of exercise because then I'll stay slim. And I had this relationship then started building with, I was doing the exercise to burn calories rather than because I enjoyed it.
Yes.
That then started, but it was not real. It wasn't like a real, I can't really remember it starting. It just kind of did, like it just crept in. And then the actual issues then started with my boyfriend at the time competed doing men's physique. I'd never even heard of anything to do with like bodybuilding or anything. I'm never interested in it at all. And I went to watch this bodybuilding show and I was like, these girls look quite good. And I kind of like talked myself out of it. I don't want to do that. I'm going to carry on with triathlons. Went to watch a couple more shows and then I was like, actually, do you know what? These girls do look really good. Like I want to do this. And then I started weight training. And the reason that I stopped doing triathlons was because I started having problems with my heart again. Wasn't to do with the hole in the heart, but they thought it was. So I was having tests on that. They told me you can't do any cardio exercise until we've got to the bottom of it. So I was like, okay, cool. So I just started weight training.
Yeah.
Got the all clear from my heart and it's just arrhythmia. I've still got it now. It's fine, but it's not going to cause any issues. So carried on weight training, but I started to see my body change. So I didn't want to then go back down the triathlon route because it was like all of a sudden I'm starting to look leaner, I'm starting to look more defined, I'm starting to look more athletic. I liked it. So I continued down that route. And then the reason that my actual issues started was after the first bikini competition. So I decided I was going to do a bikini competition. And this is why whenever I have someone come to me that wants to compete, I will ask them a lot of questions as to why they want to do it.
Yeah.
Because I did my first one for all of the wrong reasons. And it was that started my issues off. And I literally just did it because I was told by people, oh, you won't be able to do that. And, look how dedicated such and such is. And it was just those little things that's like, well, I'm dedicated to, I can do that too. So I was like, right, do you know what? I'm going to do it. And I literally just decided on one day, I got the calendar out for the shows and it was like, right, I've got 11 weeks till this show. I'm doing it.
Wow.
And I got myself a coach because although at the time I knew what I was doing, I didn't know enough to put myself through a competition prep. So I got myself a coach, did the show, didn't really enjoy the comp prep at all. I was not prepared for what it was going to entail. I'd never been on a diet at that point. I'd never even counted calories, never done anything like that.
Wow.
So I got given this diet plan. I'd gone from being used to eating whatever the hell I wanted and just doing a lot of exercise. All of a sudden, everything was very calculated. Everything was very strict. And I did it. Didn't enjoy it at all. I remember getting off stage and thinking, thank God that's over. I never want to do that ever again.
Yeah.
Show me some food. I've had enough. This is it. I'm starving. And I was not prepared for the aftermath of the show at all. And I'd been so hungry for so many weeks. I was then like, right, eat, put weight on quite quickly. I've never ever been overweight. My weight went from being stage lean to being back to how I was before within a matter of like 3 or 4 weeks. And I felt massive.
Yeah.
And I had this like insane feeling that I was working in the gym at the time as a personal trainer. I was really newly qualified. And I had this insane fear of that everyone was looking at me thinking, well, she's let herself go. Look, she did that show 3 weeks ago and now look at her.
You'd never had that feeling before?
No, never, ever. Never, ever. And I had like this insane, didn't want to look at myself in the mirrors in the gym. I just felt massive, even though I knew I wasn't. I knew I wasn't fat, but I felt huge compared to what I had been like. And yeah, it was that kind of, I think it was because other people had commented as well. No one said anything about me putting weight on. There was never, ever a remark on that. The remarks were when I was really lean as to the, oh my God, you look amazing. Look how good you look. Are you going to stay looking like this? Oh, you look amazing. And it was just so glorified as to what I look like that it made me feel like what I looked like before was not good enough.
It's so interesting. So how old were you when that happened?
I would have been 24.
It just makes me think about all the kids that have been overweight. Because one of the things that I was probably not overweight until really heavily overweight anyway. I was a normal looking child until I was sexually abused. Then I started to put weight on, and we sort of understand that now a bit more. And the bullying, I mean, I was quite resilient to it. Yeah. Actually, to be honest. And I kind of handled it quite well on the external. Yeah. But actually internally, it was awful. And so you could understand if that's happening to you as an adult when by all accounts your brain is fully developed, if that's happening to a child, the damage that does to their self-perception, which obviously you'll probably see a lot of in your work, it goes to show that actually, if you believe people are commenting on your body, even if they're not being horrible, just people looking at you differently, commenting on what you look like, can be enough, as well as your own perception. And I do think, and it's why I reference my weight loss journey, is that weight loss, an incredible amount of weight loss, especially if it's quickly, can mess with your perception of yourself, can't it? Yeah, absolutely. So the fact that you ask a lot of questions, and if someone was doing comp prep, you would be there understanding fully. Yeah, why is it that you want to do this? Because what I really always like to get to with my girls, it's very, very common where I'll get females come to me, they've been through a breakup. Yeah. And they want to sort themselves out because it's like they want to get back at them. They want to look really good. They want to show them what they're missing. Like, and it's revenge. Like, that's okay because it's a drive as to why you want to do it. But it's essentially going to lead you to a place of not feeling great. Yeah. It should always come from a place of that I want to do this because I want to do it. Yeah. Rather than because you want to prove somebody wrong, because that was completely what led me down the wrong path of doing the bikini show to prove people wrong. Whereas then the ones that I've done later on in my life, after I've been through all the issues with food and come out of it the other side, I've done it because I wanted to do it. And then therefore there's been no issues. Yeah. I've come off the back of it completely fine. That's so important. And I think It's hard to do something for yourself. We mentioned the pain point earlier,
Mm.
didn't we? It's hard to just do it for yourself. I think we do need the driver, and it is often pain
Yeah.
that drives us to want to do it. But what I like about what you're saying is, um, I think as a woman as well, and I don't think there's anything wrong with having a male coach, or if you're a man having a female coach. That's not what I'm saying. But I think you as a woman understand the
Mm-hmm.
process of going through that bikini thing and then feeling the way you did. So you can actually say psychologically, this is going to mess you up.
Yeah.
This is going to make you think you're fat when you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have to really work with me on that, which I think is such a good a way of being able to go into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be prepared. You're going to think you're fat when you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And does that happen to a lot of people, do you think?
Yeah, it even happens like not necessarily with just doing like bodybuilding. We a lot of the time will set our clients goals of doing photo shoots.
Yeah.
And a lot of our clients have huge fat loss transformations, like huge. And they'll come in and they'll have like a 6, 7, 8 stone weight loss. They'll do a photo shoot. They're extremely proud of their photo shoot. And then obviously after the photo shoot, then it kind of sometimes will continue depending on where they are in their journey with more fat loss, if that's what they want. But sometimes it's going into then maintenance.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, when they've not got that focus anymore on losing weight,
Yes.
and the scale weight is then maintaining, their physique's maintaining, they can struggle with that a lot because they've been so focused on the last months or years even of losing weight that then all of a sudden their weight's not dropping and they feel almost like their purpose has gone. And if they put like a pound on, it's like the end of the world, when actually it's like, no, this is just normal life. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, but it is, yeah, I think you can become so hyper focused on what you look like.
Yes.
And that's where we have to take the focus away from that. And it's okay to have like aesthetic goals. Obviously, as transformation coaches, that's what we specialize in. But there's a lot more to it than just focusing solely on what someone looks like.
So I'm going to say to you, I've trained on and off. I've done the gym, and I do the gym. I've got some stuff set up at home.
Yeah.
I've got all the kit except for well, I have got cardio kit, but it's not very good. I had a weight loss journey. My issue was always about once I'd lost the weight and gone through a similar thing to you. Now I've lost all the weight. Now I've got an eating problem.
Yeah.
But it's probably tied to other things as well. And then I get to a point where I have some surgery. I'm out for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of makes me going into training difficult again. But even when I'm in it consistently, I feel like I work hard.
Yeah.
And I've maintained a good body shape for a very long time, 45 now. So very long time, started to put a bit of weight on with perimenopause, getting frustrated. But in the meantime, there was always an issue with food, because if ever I trained and they upped my calories, again, I'm impatient. So this is control. Up my calories. I'd get to some weight loss, slow weight loss, because I was never heavily overweight in the first place. But I could never get to your position. And I'd just be like, why can I never get there? Why can I never get there? And then I might have to, push a bit harder or do a bit more. And then time's an issue. It's like, well, I haven't really got time to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do this. I know I'm going to be tired. And all those things start coming in.
Yeah.
And then it's a case of, right, okay, I'm going to do this. Oh, I'm still not getting the results. And this thing of failure and impatience. And I think as I'm talking to you, I'm hearing perfection as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing all of this and I want it to be perfect now. And it might take me 2 years to actually get to my idea of perfect, if we're being realistic.
Yeah.
But then something might happen, like you have surgery, or something else might happen, like someone dies, or something else might happen, like you've got to have a week off because there's a massive flood at the clinic, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it keeps taking you off that track. And it's that inability sometimes to maintain that consistency, or to maintain that mindset, or and it's coming from perfection. So when you have someone like that, where and there'll be a lot of people listening that have had that similar experience, that they are dedicated, they are consistent, but they can't crack the bloody code. And that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
I've got maybe 95% of everything I need, but there's that 5% I can't crack it. And I say the word can't because it feels like that at the time.
Yeah.
With those people that fit into that middle category, so they're not heavily overweight or heavily underweight. They're not sports people, but they're the middle people that want something, but they can't crack that bloody code. What do you do with those people?
You can get to your goal, but it's going to take longer than it would do someone like me when I'm on comp prep, and it's just that tunnel vision of that means more to me than anything. And whatever else suffers in the meantime, so be it. I'm just going to get to that goal. Whereas if I want to get to the goal, but I want to go for cocktails each week and I want to do this and I'm running a business and I've got kids and I've got other things to manage around it, that's going to take a little bit longer. And I think sometimes it's that comparison thing where people
Yes.
will look at other people and they think, and we get it in our coaching team all the time. We've got a lot of clients. And even when we post on our socials transformations, sometimes even our own clients can struggle with that because they'll see, oh, why has so-and-so lost 10 kilos in 10 weeks and I've only lost 4?
It's huge, that is, isn't
Yeah,
it?
and it can kind of be, but their journey is completely different to yours. It's not that you're less dedicated. It's not that you don't want it enough. It's not that you're broken and something's wrong with you. It's just that, okay, maybe they're at a time in their life when they can 100% dedicate something to it. And maybe you've got a different area of your life where you've got the kids and you've got a business and other things. People have different things going on and theirs can take them longer. And it depends on the person's personality as well. Like you say, I'm very much I'm impatient.
Yeah.
And I like to get things done. And once I've got a vision in mind of where something needs to be, it's literally like I would say, refer to myself as a wind-up toy. It's like I get wound up and just let go and off I go towards my goal.
Yeah.
But then not everybody's like that. But then people like my friend will look at me and say, why am I not like you?
Yes.
Why can you get in that shape? Why can I not do this? But then me doing that is more important to me than the cocktails and the traveling. And that's not saying that my way's right and her way's wrong, but going for cocktails makes her happy. Whereas working on my business and getting my body in incredible shape makes me happy.
Yes. It's so true.
It's just that it's that's of more value on my list than other things. For me, going out, if someone said to me, right, that's it, you've got no more meals out and no drinks for the next 6 months because you've got a show, that's okay. It doesn't really bother me. The thing that I struggled with most after my last show, which was March last year, got very, very lean for my show. And I was like, right, okay, I'm not going to be affected by anything after. And I remember me and Simon had gone to train at a gym. And when I do my heavy lifts, I wear a weight belt.
Yeah.
And it's one with a double buckle on it. And it normally sits on the 4th hole down, as it would do today when I'm at like my regular kind of healthy size. When I get stage lean, it goes on to the last hole and it's loose on the last hole, which I do like when I look at it now, I'm like, how the hell is it even? I don't even know how it gets down to that. But after my show last year, and my weight belt then went down a hole. It went down another hole. And it went down another hole. And then I did have a spell in the gym where I was just like, oh my God, oh, I'm putting the weight back on again. But it was instantly like I had that moment of feeling uncomfortable. But then it was like, no. I am not going back down that road again. And it was like, right, George, come on, stop it. Sort yourself out. You're not fat. You're not going back. You're just healthy. Like, stop being silly. And I just have to kind of reason with myself and not allow myself to go back down that road, which is, I think, like when I say like, oh, I've not had any trauma in my past life, it's probably just actually the fact of that I don't allow myself to realize actually what's happened.
Yes, that's so key. And I'm glad you said it because I think most people actually, I'm not taking away from severe trauma here, but most people have had experiences that have shaped who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And although you've adapted really well,
yeah,
I think the thing is that would have manifested in a way at the time that your way of coping with that is go, no, it's not happened.
Mm-hmm.
It is to shut it down. Didn't happen.
Yeah,
I'm fine. Crack on.
Yeah.
And there is an avoidance perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely.
In that behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And I think from the mind perspective with the work that I do, I would look at that and go, okay, that's interesting. It's not necessarily a bad thing now, but let's reflect on that to work out how you perhaps can be much more set and structured without being avoidant.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you are right now, isn't it? You're not avoidant, you're set and structured. Whereas before you were avoidant.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned some difficult relationships. Obviously there was difficulties, I would imagine, from having an alcoholic father, even if it wasn't that he was an angry alcoholic or
No, and that was like a weird thing as well, because my dad, although he was an alcoholic, nobody ever would have known.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't what people think an alcoholic
high
is.
Functioning, isn't it?
Yeah, he was still holding a job down. Like nobody knew about it apart from me and my mum. Like nobody knew. And he was never abusive. He was never loud. He was never what you would imagine a drunk person to be like.
Yeah.
He would hide alcohol. And then my mum would find the alcohol. Then that would cause an argument because why are you hiding things from me? Why are you lying?
Yeah.
And it was that was more of an issue with the fact of that I'm very, very, very much like my mom. And when she would find out with stuff like that, it was just like World War III. And she would just kick off because like, why am I being lied to? Like, I'm not having this. But yeah, he was never what people would imagine an alcoholic person to be like.
Yes.
At all. And he's actually now been sober for over 20 years.
Wow.
Which is really, really good, because my mum was literally like, look, you sort it out or I'm gone. I'm not having this anymore.
Why did he drink? Do you know?
I'll have to ask him like on a little bit more of a detail, but he had quite a difficult upbringing when he was a child. And I think he was brought up as a Jehovah's Witness. He left the religion to be with my mom.
Interesting.
And yeah, I think it just kind of started as just a regular guy going down the pub.
Yeah.
And then obviously my mom used to be like a proper party animal. And my dad was not. He was just someone that just went to the pub. And then I think it was a case of that I was kind of born, and my mum obviously then was like the most dedicated mum ever, never went out drinking, never did anything. And she would then get annoyed at my dad for drinking. So it's probably one of those where actually if my mum would have just carried on drinking, nothing probably would have ever been an issue.
Yeah.
But it was the fact of that my dad was drinking, my mum would get annoyed about it, so then he would hide it. So then that caused an issue. And then I think it just became more of an issue for my dad, to the point of where he would then go, he used to buy gin from the local co-op. And he would then start buying it from different co-ops so that it didn't look suspicious buying it from the same one.
So he was thinking about it.
Yeah, so it then became like more planning stuff to try and hide it from my mum. And it was the hiding of the stuff that then became more of the issue than the actual drinking. I was
going to say
itself.
The behaviour,
Yeah, and my mum will not stand for being made a fool of.
Yeah.
So then it was just a case of, right, well, you sort it out. I think it was I got old enough as to be, my mum will openly say, which would, looking back, be the wrong thing to do, because they're so happily married now. If it wasn't for me, they wouldn't have been together. She would have left. But she stayed because of me, and he was a good dad. He was a very, very good dad, and he still is.
That's a lot of marriages, you know. That's a lot of marriages. Not that they're not happy in the end, but when you go through those 30s and 40s and you've got a kid or children and life's busier, it's challenging.
Yeah, massively.
It is challenging.
Massively. They're so happy together now. But yeah, it was just a case of, you sort it out or I'm going. I can't remember exactly how old I was, but I remember him going, he saw a lady called Jane, who he's absolutely eternally grateful for, that helped him. He was just so in denial about the fact that he'd got an issue because he wasn't drunk.
Yeah.
So to him, it wasn't an issue.
Yes.
But then actually when he went to see Jane, and Jane actually like pointed out to him, but like, you're hiding things. This is affecting your marriage. You're going to lose your wife. Like, this is, if you're that obsessed with alcohol, and it's making your wife upset and it's making your daughter upset, and you can't stop, you've got a problem.
Yes.
Because if there wasn't a problem, you just stop. And then that would kind of became apparent to him that actually, I have got a problem. Yeah. And he did just stop, and he went and he saw her. I can't remember how many years he's seen her for. But he hasn't been for years and years and years now. But yeah, he just didn't realise actually how much of a problem it was.
And this is important because although, again, it's not a massive part of your personality now, it would have shaped you a little bit because the way the brain adapts, especially before the brain's fully developed, the way the neurons fire and wire together and the way that neuroplasticity works is based on your experiences. Again, you are determined, and I think that you looked at that maybe and went, I'm not going to let myself get to a point where I'm out of control. And you don't have to define something as trauma. You don't have to be told, well, actually, you have had trauma. You could just look at your experiences and say, oh, actually, I am quite interesting as an individual because I've had these experiences. This is where I am now. I'm building the business. I'm a go-getter. I'm a no-nonsense kind of female. I know what I want. I'm going to get it. And you are different. Not everybody's like you. And I think this is why I find people so fascinating, because they don't even know themselves that they're so interesting. And I sit and talk to so many different people. I mean, it's literally thousands now. And in each person, I've gone, wow, that's pretty magical, And it's not disingenuous when I say that. It's completely genuine. Like, each and every single person has something in their life that has made them unique. And that is magical.
It's even like when I think back to things of my nana, my mum's mum, who was a huge, huge part of my life. She passed away lung cancer years ago. I think I was, I don't know, I think I was about 13. But she was my mum's best friend. Absolutely, like they idolized each other. And she was really, really poorly with cancer. She went into Loros. And I remember it like it was yesterday. The phone call, it was about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I knew what had happened when the phone call happened. And I heard my mum on the phone, and I knew my nana passed away. I knew it. And I remember going into my mum's room, and she said, oh, Nana's passed away. And I was like, oh, I know. I had no emotion to it. And it wasn't that I wasn't upset, because she was basically like my second mom. Like, I
Yeah.
spent like probably more time with her than I did with my mom. But it was almost like I'm so matter of fact about things that I just didn't even like process it.
Yeah.
I remember, I don't know, just this weird sense of like calmness. And I think probably because she'd been so poorly as well, and it was expected for it to come, it was just like, she's not in pain anymore.
Yeah.
But I remember going in and sitting with my mom, and my mom saying like what happened. And it was a school day. Do you want to go to school? You don't have to go to school. And I was like, no, I want to go to school. And I went to school, and I just kind of like carried on like as if it had not happened. And it wasn't that I wasn't upset about it. I was, but it's just, I don't know. I had that kind of just matter of fact way of dealing with it. And I still think about it now. I still think about her, and like, she was just absolutely amazing.
Did you grieve at any point? Did it hit you at any point? Or was it?
No, not really.
Yeah, your brain just naturally does this kind of, I knew this was coming.
Yeah.
I wonder actually, did you, and do you ever, if you know something bad's going to happen, do you ever kind of mentally prepare yourself?
Yeah.
So do you think you've done that?
Yeah.
You'd already you knew it was coming. I mentally prepared myself for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
You might have actually done the grief, and this happens a lot with grief. You might have done the grief pre her dying.
Yeah, because it's weird you say that, because it's been like it through anything. And I think that I actually get quite anxious about stuff. Like, it's almost weird. Like, I have this weird, and I think it's like a female thing, where you know something's going to happen, and I'll almost go through the process of it happening before it's happened.
Yes.
Even with like being younger, like with like relationship breakups and stuff like that, I've never ever been heartbroken, like absolutely distraught, because it's almost just like, oh, it's happened. And it's really strange like that. It's, you know, people be like, oh, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. And it's like, I genuinely am okay. And I'll get upset. I do get upset about things like, if Simon was to say to me today that he was leaving, and it was completely out of the blue and I was completely shocked, I would be devastated.
Because you haven't been able to
prepared for it.
Yeah.
But if I can see patterns in things, and I know something's going a certain way, it's almost like I have mentally processed that before it's happened. And then it's just like, I saw that coming, I know.
It does feel like you have a unique ability to be able to assess a situation, risk assess it, but work around it and not let it stop you. That is definitely how I would describe you. And if you bring that to people that can't do that for themselves, you know, but be it emotionally or be it physically, actually that's a very valuable tool for someone like me that wouldn't be able to necessarily look at myself as mechanically. I'm more in my own head, like, why can't I do it? You'd be able to say, look, these are the mechanics here. These are the risks. These are the things, the hurdles we need to go over together. But I've got you, and this is what we're going to do.
Once you have that blueprint of who you are and who you want to be, and you stop allowing yourself to be I can't because of this, and this. It has a massive, massive impact.
Because you have achieved quite a lot in terms of that bikini competitor situation. In terms of your body, what are your goals? What do you still want to do?
For me, it's just a case of, I just want to feel good all the time.
Yeah.
I want to feel good all the time. I want to have a healthy relationship with food. I want it to be so that if Simon was to come home and say, which would be lovely if he did, right, we're going to Dubai tomorrow, I'd be like, oh, cool. And not be thinking, oh, shit, how am I going to put a bikini on? Like, I want to just be in a case of that I am a role model to my clients. I think it's very important that you practice what you preach and you stay in shape. If you're, you know, telling other people how to be in shape, that you should also be in shape.
Absolutely.
But yeah, for me, I don't really have any massive goals in a sense of like, I want this to be bigger, I want that to be bigger. Or it is just a case of now where I just want to be happy in my body and feel good, which I do. And it's just continuing that.
Yeah, which is beautiful, really, because that's what we're all hoping for at some point, isn't it? To find that level of comfortable with our body, healthy, longevity as well. I know everyone talks about longevity, and I kind of think that is important, because longevity isn't about it, for me anyway, living long. It's about being the best that I can be for as long as I can. If I get killed by a bus or whatever, then I get killed by a bus. But I think if I'm 96 and I can still go for a nice long walk, that's what I mean by longevity. And I think that's what most people want, isn't it? It's just quality of life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I will notice as well that although, like, obviously I'll talk about like I'm very, very lucky in a sense of that I've never really had any massive mental health struggles or anything like that. But I 100% notice that if I don't move my body properly and I don't eat properly, my mental health does struggle from it. So it's one of those where I can clearly, because I'm always in pretty much near enough always in a positive state, that I notice very evidently to me when I'm not. I can
Yes.
correlate, right, am I feeding my body properly? Am I moving my body properly? I have got a condition with my spine where I have pain in my neck quite a lot, and that will kind of correlate as well. So I'll notice that if I'm not eating properly and training properly, my mental health does take a bit of a decline. I'll feel more stressed, then my muscles in my neck tighten
Yeah.
up, I'm in more pain, and it's this kind of like vicious cycle. So for me, it's a case of that I know that if I look after myself and I eat and I train properly, that I feel good.
Well, actually, then on a final note, I'm thinking about the sort of people that would be in pain, as you've mentioned, pain, because we seem certainly nowadays, because we are more sedentary in our work, and the way the human has evolved is we are not the same as we would have been even 40 years ago, to be fair, because everyone's got cars and no one really walks anywhere anymore. From the point of pain, what would you say to those people who are starting a journey of fitness and may end up in front of someone like you or Simon?
Eating better definitely helps.
Yes, it
From an
does.
inflammation point of view, it definitely helps. I notice a difference if I'm not eating properly, if I'm not drinking enough, and if
Yeah.
I'm not sleeping well, then it will feel worse,
So your
without a doubt.
fundamentals, they've got
Yeah,
to be there.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I guess for those people that feel like, well, I'm in chronic pain, I can't do anything about this. Actually, let's look at your food,
Yep.
look at your movement,
Mm-hmm.
look at your hydration, look at your sleep, and then we'll look at some movements
Yeah.
that will help to support the areas of your body that need support. Just to make sure that before we end this, that people know where they can find you, because I know you've got a good following on Instagram.
Yeah.
Where would you want people, if they're hearing this and they think, do you know what, I really like the sound of Georgia, she's my kind of girl, where would they find you?
Well, Instagram's probably the best. So you could find me or Simon, GS Coaching. We've got GS Coaching's got his own Instagram page, and then you've got Georgia at GS Coaching, Simon at GS Coaching. So you can drop a special on there, but we have also got a website, teamgscoaching.com. So you can find us on there as well, and you've got your application forms on there as well.
Amazing. And you can be from anywhere. You don't have to be, because you're Leicester based.
We've got clients in America, Australia, everywhere.
Brilliant. So that is very useful to know. I might even be talking to you myself afterwards. And I think that what I really want to do is thank you, actually, because there were some moments in this that I wasn't sure when we first spoke that would come out. And I think you've been really honest about, several factors of your life, including your dad, including your own journey with food, which I'm sure you're used to talking about because you're talking to your clients about it. And I just want to say thank you for that, because it's really important. And I say this in every episode pretty much, but sharing stories, it allows us to connect. And I think on things like Instagram and things, it's great, because I love Instagram. I know people don't like social media sometimes, but when you listen to the story, you get more context.
Yeah.
And you get to hear so much more information about the person. You might see 5 minutes of them on Instagram, and you might have to watch Instagram for quite a long time to put the pieces together. But I feel like, for me anyway, I feel like I really understand who you are. And I feel there are moments within that were quite light bulb for me.
Yeah.
And I think I'm hoping, well, I know that people will have that feeling as well. So I do appreciate you coming on today.
No, it's been brilliant. Thank you for having me.
No, you are welcome. We're actually going to record Simon now.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you two will go out next to each other in terms of the podcast, but I'm literally going to flip from one to the other.
Yeah.
And you're going to listen to us do that in the other room. So
exciting.
Yeah. So you're going to hear me all over again. But thank you so much, Georgia.
Thank you. It's been brilliant.
No, you're welcome. Well done.